Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Gen Z Unfiltered. I'm Ishkirat, and I am here joined by Amreet. How are you, Amreet?
I'm good, Ishkirat. How are you?
I'm good, and I'm a little bit excited as well, as I am sure you are too. With the school year coming to an end, for us, it's an even bigger deal because secondary school, this is our last year of that. We're going into post secondary this summer.
Yep.
How does that feel? In this fall, sorry.
Exciting,
Uh,
a little bit nerve-wracking. Just knowing that we graduated in a global pandemic is making me feel really accomplished. What about you?
No, I would have to agree with you. Every single word you've used in this series, I 100% agree. And this year has been so different from the other school years as well, with one of the biggest changes being the diplomas becoming optional.
Yes.
For those of our audience members who do not know, diplomas are a cumulative standardized test, which before COVID were written for the core subjects, so chemistry, bio, math, English, social, by grade 12 students across the province of Alberta. Alberta is also the only province in Canada who has such testing, especially for grade 12 students. They accounted for 30% of our grade, and today, now that they're optional, less than 5% of students are actually choosing to write them. This 5% includes either those who are looking to improve their average or those who need to write the diploma as a post secondary application requirement. So, Amrit, I know I didn't write the diploma. I know you did not either. So, what influenced that decision for you?
Yeah, for sure. So I didn't want to write the diploma for a few reasons. One of them being that in the pandemic, we had to switch constantly between in person learning and online learning. And so I feel like with all the subjects that I've learned during this time, I would have found it difficult to retain all the information I've learned for that cumulative exam. Even with the notes and everything we had, just being in two different environments didn't really make me feel motivated enough to go back and review the whole course again for a final exam. So I tried to avoid that stress that came with preparing for final exams. And another reason being, I usually don't do too well on standardized tests, especially when I put in effort and hard work throughout the course in assignments, projects, and unit tests. I feel like if I wrote the diploma, my mark average could have dropped, and I'm quite happy with where it is right now. So I didn't want to take that risk and decrease my average.
I am with you on that. I hate final exams. Actually, like any type of testing, it's not my forte. It's not my cup of tea, as some people like to say.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy them. I get a lot of anxiety because I feel like no matter how much I try to prepare myself for it, when I actually get to the test, I feel like I just forget everything. All the memes you see, you're like, just how much you study, and you look at the first question and everything's just out of your brain. Like, that is exactly how it feels every single time.
Yeah.
And like, as for diplomas, I think for me it would be a strategic decision. My grade wasn't going to go up even if I wrote the diploma because I did consider writing it for one subject. But then, like, looking at the fact that whether I write it or not, my mark is either staying or it's going down. And it makes no sense because at the end of the day, universities are most of them are looking for a good average. We're looking for the good grade. And the reason we go through grade 12 is to get that grade to get into post secondary. So it doesn't really make so much sense to go through this. And then again, as you said, putting in so much effort throughout the year or throughout the semester, by the end, when you get to that cumulative time, it's like, I don't really want to do this. I am not motivated enough to do this. I won't do a good job on this. So I'd agree with everything you've said. Now, of course, there's lots of negatives to writing a final exam or even a test. Testing is just connotated with negative vibes at all times. But what are some pros of writing it, in your opinion? Why do you think someone might, like, outside of just grades or post-secondary, why is it something that we actually consider giving to students?
Yeah, so as a student who gets anxiety from test writing, especially end of year exams, I
Mm-hmm.
would say it's hard to look at the pros of these things. But
Yeah.
one good thing that can come out of this for most students is that it's a life skill because it teaches us about stress management and how to prepare for something important. And if something goes off the rails, how to find a situation and get back on track. Find a solution and get back on
Mm-hmm.
track. So I think even with students who go on to post-secondary, college, university, it's a big preparation moment. If you wrote diplomas, then you're good to go for university exams because you know kind of the stress environment, you know how to prepare, you know your studying style and that kind of stuff. But again, personally, I chose to avoid that this year, and I think I made the right decision.
See, I would agree with you on it being an important life skill and also like creating this level field for everyone. So like everyone's written the diploma, you go into the future, everyone's starting off at basically the same starting line, right? But an argument I would make to that is the diplomas are not the only standardized tests we get. We have unit tests throughout. And obviously, like, yes, diplomas were optional this year, but we've written other final exams throughout the other years. Like other final exams this year were also canceled. However, grade 10, grade 11, PATs, even middle school, grade 7s, 8, 9, and grade 6 used to have PATs at one point as well. I think they still do. But we've been working towards this assignment, these tests, all our lives with every teacher explaining it to me as you have to prepare for this test. With the fact that we've done this in the past and we're skipping this 1 year, do you think we're any less prepared for university?
I think not, because again, like you said, with all the unit tests and final exams we've done in previous years, we have that general idea of what it is like to write a stressful test at the end of the year and to express what we've learned as a cumulative. So I think going into university, I am maybe not fully prepared if diplomas were mandatory, but I feel like I am still good to go because I know what it's like to prepare for an exam. So when university exams come along, I'll still be somewhat prepared and knowledgeable about what I need to do and what I don't need to do.
Mm-hmm. I know you just said being prepared for university. A point I would like to add is, as I've been told by every adult, you can never actually be prepared for university. I mean, it's a topic for another day, but I think it's important to throw it out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's mostly because every individual is different, right? So the methods we use, the strategies, the learning styles, everything, it's unique to each individual. So there's really no right or wrong way to be prepared. It's just what works for you.
That's right. So as I said earlier, Alberta is the only province who actually has this standardized testing in place. Do you think going forward, so post-pandemic, this testing should stay in place? Should it be completely abolished, optional? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so considering what we've talked about so far, I think moving forward, it should remain optional because there's two types of students we know of. There's one group of students who really thrive on cumulative exams or diplomas and that kind of stuff because they prepare for it throughout the whole year. They're ready for it and they don't really have that stress or anxiety or negative thinking process that most students do. And so they really thrive in the test environment and they do a lot better than they would normally in class. So I think for those students, it should be optional to write it. But then there's a majority of the students who get anxious or nervous when tests come around. And that's me personally. I feel like it should be optional to not write it as well because there's students who just don't do well in end of year tests, and I know I put a lot of hard work in assignments, projects, and individual unit tests, and when it comes to final exams, I freak out. So in keeping it optional, both groups of students are able to thrive in the school environment, and I think that's just the way it should be.
Yes, that's right. It's moldable to each student's likings, which I think does like reflect a little bit more of the real world in some cases because when you're going into university, you're not always being forced to do what you don't want to do. Like you have the choice with the options or courses you're taking as well. Now, one thing I know you mentioned is how sometimes students are reviewing throughout the year and preparing themselves for final exams. I think sometimes it's also no matter how much you prepare, you can't prepare entirely for an exam. My personal opinions on this go towards English and social study exams, where a lot of it is reading comprehension. I think that is also a conversation for another day. Yes. But I would have to agree. I think diploma should be kept optional. If someone chooses to do so, if they think that this will actually help them in the long term, feel free to do that. And if you don't think it's a good use of time for you, also feel free to do that. I guess with that, audience members, viewers, listeners, please let us know what you think. Do you think standardized testing should continue? If so, why? And you can leave us a comment. You can also send us a message, or you can text us or DM us on Instagram. And with that, Amreet, I'll let you do the honors.
All right. Yeah. Thank you for viewing or listening to our Gen Z episode today. Thank you for your support. We will see you next week. And until then, peace out, everyone.